some that I'm... In the past few months, I started to experiment with street photography. I live in Queens, I have a studio in Brooklyn, and I work in Manhattan. So these are all phenomenal places to do street photography, and it was something I never thought about getting into and was always kind of uncomfortable about getting into. I'm mainly a portrait shooter, wedding, corporate events, corporate headshots like that, but there's a lot of incredible street photographers that I follow on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube that have inspired me to go out there and do that. And living in this amazing city, I just felt that I had to. Already I've taken photos that I'm extremely proud of, ones that I never thought I would have ever captured, ones that I really love and people really love. And I wanted to go over two specific photos today, the feelings and thoughts behind it, and then also the two types of cameras I mostly use for my street photography. So first, we'll go over the cameras that I use for my street photography. The first one that I honestly use the absolute most of is the Ricoh GR3. The reason I use this the most is because it is a super pocketable camera that I literally have with me at all times. I get off the subway, I walk a few blocks to work, and I can capture up to 30 images of street photography on this little camera. It's fully manual. It's a 24 megapixel sensor. It's a 28 millimeter focal length, so I can get a lot in my shot. And just the photos I've taken from the walk from my subway to where I go to work have been some great photos on 34th and Herald Square and everything. It's a fully manual camera that you can also add specific profiles to, very similar to like what Fuji does with Fuji X Weekly. They have ones for this. You have all the buttons you need in your hand right here. You have the shutter, the ISO, and the aperture. You can also set an auto exposure. So this is the one I use, I'd say about 60% of the time during the week when I'm shooting. It's always with me. Now on weekends and when I go away, whether that's on trips or on little weekend trips, I'm using one of my favorite cameras of all time, which is my Leica Q2. Now, the reason I love this camera so much, it's definitely obviously much bigger than my Ricoh GR3, but it is a full frame sensor, 47 megapixel sensor. It has a beautiful 28 millimeter Leica Summicrux lens. And I have a great grip on it. I've learned how to strap it up on my chest real high so I can just pop and go and stuff like that. And it gives incredibly beautiful, detailed images, especially for night photography, which is some of my favorite photography to do. So this is a camera I really bring with me when I have a purpose and I'm going out to do street photos. I mean, I bring this to weddings with me, corporate events, to my studio for shoots, but I love taking it out into the streets of New York and capturing with it. And I've gotten some of my favorite photos with it. Now we'll move over to two of my favorite photos that I've ever gotten. One that was taken with the Leica Q2, and the other that was taken with the Ricoh GR3. So the first photo is this photo. It's a photo of a gentleman smoking in a cowboy hat in Nashville. So I had gone down to Nashville and I was walking around with my Leica Q2, and I literally walked past this guy as he was lighting up his cigarette and puffing out smoke. And I just really quickly brought it up to my eye, popped it, and just kept walking. And I've gotten a lot of questions about that specific photo that I wanted to kind of address. One, the main question I get is like, how do you get that close and feel comfortable and everything? My approach to street photography is always try to get the shot no matter what. Don't be fearful of the person. Don't be fearful of how they're going to react. But again, always be respectful. Don't get up in people's faces. Try to have a conversation with them, but always try to get the shot that you see. This next photo it was not one of my favorites, but it's from the same trip. I took a photo of this woman smoking a cigarette, and she approached me and asked me if I could help her. I just simply told her no. I'm a photographer. I just got here and I love the framing. And she was fine with it. She just wanted to know what was going on. So basically my point with this is really, if you see a shot, go for it. And if there's a reason to talk to the person, talk to them and get to know them, but don't really get into their bubble. Try to just get the photo and move on. And that's how I got the photo that I really love of that, I guess we'll call cowboy guy smoking his cigarette in Nashville. Now the second picture, which I actually took with the Ricoh GR3, is a great example of not getting into people's personal bubble and trying to explain what you're doing. It's this photo right here of this gentleman in a red hoodie that I literally had the camera up to my nose and was just scratching my nose and clicked it. And he noticed that I clicked it. He got a little agitated about it. He started to actually follow me and start to yell at me, why did I take his picture? For a minute, I ignored it. I thought he would go away and just forget it. But he did come, approach me, grab my arm and ask me what I was doing. I just told him I was a photographer and I was taking photos. He was a little agitated by it, but he just kind of left me alone after that. And the point of that story is, and that photo is that, again, always go for the shot you're looking for, but be cognizant of the people you're taking photos of. This gentleman didn't want his photo taken. And when he saw that, he felt very a breach of privacy and everything. And after having a conversation with him, we defused the situation. So always be cognizant of people and their privacy. Always be cognizant of being safe while you're out there. And that's how I've been able to recently get some of my favorite street photography photos I've been taking. I'm nowhere near the level of some of the people that I really admire and love, but I think I'm getting to that level, and I'm really falling in love with the fact of using these two tools to capture the life of the people that live here in New York City, the surroundings, just the energy that this city has. And it has an energy built for street photography. And these are some of my favorite cameras that I use it. Those are some of my favorite photos. And those are just me answering questions that people had about the street photography I've been doing. So get out there, take some photos, get out of your comfort zone, be respectful of people. And if they ask you what you're doing, explain it to them. And I think everyone would get some really great shots. So I hope this was a little informative. I hope everyone got a little bit something out of it. Drop your Instagrams in the comments. I'd love to see people's street photography from around the world. And I hope you get out there and take some photos. And remember to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.